Alright, today we're going to be doing an SSD swap and a 64 GB Steam Deck. There's not much on this Steam Deck, and I don't have an SD card in it. If you do have an SD card in it, you're going to want to take that out now, and you're also going to want to go ahead and back up any saved data to the cloud or to your SSD. Alright. Alright, so the first thing we're going to need to do is turn this off. Okay, Steam Deck off. We're going to go ahead and just use the case here. There's a nice little shell to hold the device. You don't want to have it sitting on a table with the thumbsticks putting pressure on those. We'll just use the case. And then it is should be a Phillips screwdriver. And there should be 8. There are 8 of these Phillips screws. One thing I'm noticing here is that these screws are small, but they're not teeny tiny. Okay. This isn't the best way to do this, but for right now I'm just going to go ahead and pull out all these screws and stick them on the top of the case. Keep in mind there are 2 different lengths of screws. The 4 outer ones are fairly long, while the inner ones that go here are much shorter. Okay. Now that we got all 8 screws out, we can go ahead and work on getting the casing separate. I'm just using a guitar pick here to wedge in between. It'll be easier to start on the edges. Okay, well there you go. Just be careful if you do try to pop it apart at the top, that the plastic is fairly thin up there. Okay, at least now we got a little bit of room to work with. I'm having trouble getting this pick wedged in on the side. Okay, here's the trick. You're gonna have to get your guitar pick or spreader right into this corner here. That's the easiest place to get it to pop apart. And from there you can work around without too much difficulty. Keep in mind, if you do start from the top, you need to be careful that you don't hit the power button and accidentally turn this back on. It's not the end of the world if you do, just be sure to stop and turn it back off before you take the rest of it apart. Okay. Okay, it was a little tricky to get the little spreader in there to start with, but after that, it just pops right off. Not too bad. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna need to do, lift up a little bit on the foil here so we can get to this screw. And there's going to be another one right below here. Ideally, you would have some tweezers, and I'm probably gonna have to go grab some in a second. Be careful too, because right here is where one of your screws, I believe, goes. One of your case screws goes through to support this whole shield. So I'm just keeping my finger here to kind of hold the shield down. Okay, thought there'd be another screw there. I suppose not. Let's go ahead and take this shield off then. Okay. It looks like there's one screw here, and maybe one more small one at the top. You notice I have a thermal pad directly above the SSD, as well as a couple others. Now I'm going to take, actually first, we're going to remove the battery clip, if we can, without too much trouble. Okay, I'm going to be honest, you should remove this battery clip right here to make sure that none of the boards are getting power, primarily because we're going to be taking the SSD out. However, I don't want to pry on it too much. And the way it's kind of wedged in here, I don't want to get too much further into this than we really need to. And the way it's wedged in here, I just hate to slip and end up trying to, you know, basically end up piercing the ribbon cable there. That would be unfortunate. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave it plugged in and hope for the best. But go ahead and try to remove it if possible. I had a little bit smaller fingers. Maybe I could wiggle it loose. It's wiggling just... Oh, there we go. Okay. I was able to wiggle it loose. I'm not going to pull it out. It's right beside it. But at least it's disconnected. I'm going to take off the screw, this one by itself, and we're going to slide out the SSD chip. And we have its foil shielding, which hopefully will slip right off, like so. And then somewhere around here we have a new one. Here's our new Micron 2230 1 terabyte SSD. Okay, before we put it back in, let's see if we can just slip this back over without too much trouble. It might not fit just like that. We may have to take the we're gonna have to take it apart. No, fits that way. Okay, hold on. Must be, yeah, it's just hanging up. I was concerned because the chip on this one is obviously much larger. It takes up nearly the entire thing, compared to this doesn't. The chip's under this piece of tape, but it's not very big at all. And that's actually one of the reasons that Steam does not recommend external, replacement drives, because they're not tested with the device. the internal drives like this that they use have all been tested with the proper shielding and all to not interfere with the communications, which, as you can see, I mean, everything is so tight in here. It's actually pretty incredible. I mean, it's incredible how modular it is, to be honest, how easy it is to work on. Okay, pop that in. Got a little bit smaller hands, that'd be nice. A little bit smaller fingers around there. Okay. Okay, and here you can see, this is actually the second screw that would, where there's usually a slot on the shielding here, where this would also come through. This one and this one usually are both accessible from this top plate. So I'm assuming this Steam Deck I purchased a few weeks ago, so I'm assuming this might be a later revision than some of the other ones that I've seen online, which is convenient because, unfortunately, these three screws here are what's holding the heatsink on for the processor. I don't have a torque wrench. Well, this small of work, obviously. I have bigger ones, but nothing that'll work to get down to this precise of a scale. And you really would want to get all three of these torqued back to the same specs to get even heating. I'm just going to take a gamble on this. I'm wondering if they chose to do that, though, where only one goes through this plate, because they know people are taking them off. And maybe by leaving that one off, by leaving these two on, there's a better chance of it going back together correctly for even heat distribution. I don't know. Just a guess. Be extra careful. There's a lot of wires. There's a lot of little boards stacked up. You need to make sure this goes back down perfectly and that it doesn't pinch any of these little teeny tiny wires. And also note, there's one little tab here, and it's got to line up with this little slot in this board. I think that's the only tab. Nope, there's another one on this corner as well. Just going to want to get those two aligned. And I'm going to start with the larger screw that goes through the heatsink. I don't know why. I'm not going to tighten it either. I'm just going to let that just use it for alignment. All right. Now I'm probably going to forget which. That's what we're forgetting already. I knew we were going to forget something. We've got to hook the battery back up. Okay. Don't forget to hook your battery back up. Right. Okay, now we'll just align those two pins again. Make sure that they're not sitting on top of the board where it could end up damaging something. A little bit of a there we go. Kind of need to slide it like in to this end. catch up under the fan. It's very impressive what they've been able to fit in here, but it's a little bit of a jigsaw puzzle. All right. Get that first big screw in. Okay. Double check where our screws for the lid end up, just to make sure I'm getting everything back in the right spots. So this screw hole here we're not going to use, and then this one down here. These two on this heat shield are not used because they're going to be covered with the top, with the back cover, and then those two screws will go through it. Same thing with the ones over here, and then of course the outer ones. I was just double checking before we go put these little teeny tiny things in. Okay, and we're just going to go ahead and cover that back up. Double check, make sure there's nothing else. We didn't take anything else off, so we should be good. I'm going to go ahead and snap the case back together. Looks pretty good. All right, now just to make sure that power's on, I'm going to turn it on before I put those screws back in, just to double check. It's hard to make a noise. Yeah, which is fine. Keep in mind there's no hardware, or there's no software installed. This is a brand new drive, so we will have to re-image this hard drive. We'll image the hard drive in the first place. It's also worth noting now that when you do replace your hard drive here, you're going to lose all the data that was previously on it. That's why it's important to back it up, back up all your saved data, but also keep in mind that you're going to have to, if you have anything else installed on it, games or any kind of mods or anything like that, you're going to be starting over essentially, unless you decide to transfer the image of the drive. And what I mean by that is, unless you decide to duplicate the drive before, while they're both out. Since this is brand new, I just put a few games on it to try. So there wasn't anything I was really worried about transferring, obviously. Because this is why I purposely bought a 64 gig one. I bought it with the intent of putting a large drive in, so I did it basically as soon as I got it. Okay. And keep in mind too, these screws are going into plastic, so do not over tighten them because you will strip out the other side of the casing. Screw in the hole already? Yes, I do. Oh, I feel like an idiot. All right. There we go. The console is now booted back up, and as you can see, we're getting an error, which is to be expected. Okay, so we're going to be re-imaging our Steam Deck's hard drive. In this case, I've replaced mine, so there's currently no operating system on it. The first thing we're going to need to do is go here to the Steam Deck recovery page, and this is where you'll find the recovery image. So we're going to go ahead and click here to download, and it's downloading, and we'll go back. We're also going to need to download this installer for the USB drive. I'm on a Mac right now, so I'll be using this one. If you're on Windows, you will be using Rufus. Either way, they're both pretty similar, and they do basically the same thing. Well, the end result will be the same. We're going to put this on, we'll use this to put the actual Steam Deck file onto a flash drive, which I have here. You're going to need a 8GB flash drive, and you're also going to need one that has USB-C or a USB-A to USB-C adapter. I already have a plain USB-A flash drive, and it's plugged into a USB-C adapter right now on my MacBook. Okay, our downloads are now complete, so I'm going to go ahead and launch the installer. Okay. We're going to click flash from file, and then we're going to go ahead and locate the download. Okay. Then we're going to select the drive it's going to. Double check that it's the correct drive. Okay, we're back to the Steam Deck one final time. I've got my flash drive here with a USB-A to USB-C adapter. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to plug that into the Steam Deck. Let's first go ahead and power it on. There we go. As you can see, we're now on Boot Manager because we don't have a hard drive. So let's go ahead and insert this. We might actually have to start it up with this in it. I'm not positive. Nope, there it goes. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and select the, I'm not sure if you can see this too well or not, but we're going to go ahead and select the flash drive. Okay, so apparently I'm low on power, so I'm going to grab a cord and plug this in. I just realized I can't plug this in because it's still plugged into USB. So hopefully this finishes before it runs out of power. Okay, it looks like our Steam Deck now has its operating system reinstalled. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. I hope this helped.